You hit me with a bombshell. I actually went to law school and I was like, hang on a minute, is he having a laugh?
I quit literally 3.5 semesters away from graduating.
It's actually quite a bold move.
I looked at the cost and I looked at the benefit and I said, no, that's not for me. I don't want to wait at least 10 years to get to 1.2 million. I am running a race where everyone is a next level athlete. Since then, the motto that I've had or the way that I've taught is I don't want to be the lawyer. I want to be the guy that hires the lawyer.
You inspire me a lot. You're one of the best salespeople I've ever seen.
Within 2 years of that, I had hit that revenue goal. I had done everything. I was already running my own security business on the outside. I basically work 2 hours a day. I know it's weird to say, but some days I don't even do that.
How would you say is the best way to do that? Today, I'm talking with Taslim Fateh. Taz dropped out of law school 3.5 semesters before finishing. He was at one of the top 10 law schools in Australia. The reason? Taz did the maths. 10 years of 80-hour weeks, sacrificing health, sacrificing family, all for the chance to maybe make $1.2 million as a partner 10 years down the line. And he asked himself, is it really worth it? So he quit. Risky? Absolutely. But what he gained was freedom. But today he has an outstanding ghostwriting business and almost 100,000 followers on LinkedIn. Today he's sharing his story on the podcast, how he went from law to a massively successful entrepreneur. This isn't about leaving law, this is about choosing yourself even when it doesn't make sense on paper. So Taz, I am extra excited to chat with you because I've been admiring you from a distance and then obviously commenting on your posts and stuff. And then you hit me with a bombshell, which was, oh yeah, I know about the legal industry or like law school because I actually went to law school. And I was like, what? You've kept this quiet for like, I had been following you for like a year at the time. And then you were like, oh yeah, I went to law school. And I was like, hang on a minute, is he having a laugh? I went to your profile to verify this information and I saw that you did. And I was like, he's not joking. Oh my gosh. So tell me about that. How did you get to the best law school in the world at the time, which you told me, and then
Yeah,
go
yeah.
from that to what you're doing now?
One of the top 10 it was at that time. It wasn't the best in the world. I think that might have been I think Oxford or Harvard at that time, but I went to Sydney Law School, which was one of the top 10 when I was admitted in I think 2013. That was. Now it's probably top 25. So what I've been told my whole life is, and I feel like a lot of people who have been in the legal industry might have been told this, is you have a way with words and you argue too much. That was sort of what I was told my whole life. They're like, hey, well, look, anything that you say to Taz, he's going to have an opinion about it. And I suppose that comes out in my social media work as well. That's why I've been sort of successful with it, because I try to not be vanilla enough. I end up with genuine opinions. And so I feel like it creates a genuine presence. And so ever since I was a kid, my parents my dad is an accountant and he trained everyone in our family to become an accountant. So I went into accountancy. I tried doing a couple of credit debits. It didn't work out for me. I had no idea how to deal with numbers. And I just enjoyed words and I enjoyed reading the reasons of things. And I think law is a lot about reasoning. And so I'm like, look, if there's anything I'm going to do, I'm probably going to go to law school. And then, yeah, I just applied to different law schools, got into Sydney Uni, and um, did a double degree with a Bachelor of Arts, because you couldn't actually do just an LLB by itself like you could in England. I picked the easiest thing, Bachelor of Arts, studied international relations, and yeah, it was a very exciting time. I really miss being that young and that naive and, and that excited about life. But yeah, that's how I got into law. I think what's more exciting is how I got out of law.
Tell me about that. Like, what made you? Because leaving leaving law school and not going into a law career is actually quite a bold move. Not in terms of, I guess, skills and other things. It's more based on the pressure of society, you know? It's like, oh, you've gone to law school, this is super prestigious, and you should therefore become a lawyer. How did you deal with that?
Yeah. So I believe, I don't think any human being is ever born and they come out and they say, I want to be a lawyer because I love defending XYZ, or because I want to do. I mean, if you're a lawyer, you know what you do. Most of the time, what you're doing is you're sort of negotiating stuff, or you're trying to make sure people don't end up in court, or you're trying to make sure compliance is proper. No one wakes up or grows up and says, look, that's what I want to do. But so many people end up becoming lawyers. And so the reason why you've summed it up perfectly, people want to do it, is because of the prestige that comes with it. I'll be fair, that's it is a solid attraction. Like, why wouldn't you want to have a profession where you look really nice, and you could be Harvey Specter or someone like that? And that's when Suits was coming out, so I was like, okay, this is cool. I don't mind doing stuff like this. So that's how I got into it. But I realized very soon that the pathway that was in front of me, which was, okay, well, then you become an associate and you do this much, and then you become a senior associate, and then maybe, you one day end up becoming a partner. And I paid a lot of attention towards how you could become a partner. So the cost that you have to pay for it, whether that's long hours, whether that's, look, a lot of the legal industry has to do a lot of things that are soul crushing, which is fine. I get it. Like, it's a part of business. A lot of businesses have to do that. Lawyers are just filing the paperwork to get it done. And so I completely understand that now that I've become a little bit older. I get it. And the other, like, costs in terms of your family, your health, and all of those things. So I looked at it and I'm like, okay, well, all right, this is the cost. Now, what's the benefit? And so when I looked at the benefit, there was a benefit that was obvious, which is money, which I looked at, and I'm like, okay, so um, partners could make in Australia at that time when I looked at it, they could make, like, partners at the top firms were making 800,000 to 1.2, 1.4 on average. Some were making a lot less than 800. Some were making 400, 500, which is plenty of money, but it is a lot less than like 1.2 million. So it depends, even in the hierarchy of partners, it depended where you were. So I looked at the cost and I looked at the benefit, and I said, no, that's not for me. I don't want to wait at least 10 years to get to 1.2 million in, like, earning a year. And I know that it sounded so delusional for me to say it, and like my whole family's like, what do you mean you don't want to earn 1.2 million in 10 years? I'm like, I don't want to do that, because that's a lot of work to get there. And that's in 10 years if you are excellent. And by excellent, I mean you're cutthroat genius, hardest working person. Because if you've entered the field and you've made partner in 10 years, that just means you're absolute machine. You are a killer. um, and you're probably not going to be making above a million in 10 years anyway. It doesn't matter how good you are. So I decided, okay, I am running a race where everyone is a next level athlete. Okay, these people in law school, they are all smart. It would be very stupid of me to assume that in 10 years I could absolutely smash them. I could be the partner, they're all going to be on the floor, I'm going to be the one, saying, hey, I made it. And so this is exactly what went on in my brain. I'm like, no, 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 no. That is very arrogant of you to think. Now, maybe that might have been very smart of me to think, which maybe it was. Um, so I told my parents, hey, look, I get it. The good thing was I had paid for law school myself. And so I also used to work part time, and I saved up money. And so I just had the ability to tell my parents, look, I actually didn't tell them, and I quit. It's funny because I quit literally 3.5 semesters away from graduating, which is like, they were like, why don't you just finish it? But the reason why I quit was because I had set some monetary goals for myself, and I had hit them in other things that I was doing. And I realized that making money is very different from making money as a lawyer. There's two different things. And since then, the motto that I've had, or the way that I've thought, is I don't want to be the lawyer. I want to be the guy that hires the lawyer.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah,
That's
but I do,
hilarious.
there is one thing I'll also bring. There is a realization to it that I will bring, is that if I had become a lawyer, and again, within 2 years of that, I had hit that revenue goal. I had done everything. I was already running my own security business on the outside. This is before I got into social media, and that did so well that I was making more money than I would as a partner in 12 years. But the problem, the thing that I did realize in, let's say, the last decade, is that if I would have become a lawyer, sure, there are some connections that I might have had that I might not have at the moment. But then again, I literally just sent a connection request to the CEO of McDonald's, and he accepted it yesterday. So I don't really know. Maybe, maybe I do have connections.
That's all you need. You've literally made it.
No, I mean, I don't see. That's the other thing. That statement, like, you've made it, is also like a mirage. You cannot make it in life. What are you trying to make it to? You make it to one thing, and now you're trying to make it to another thing. But yeah, I have probably done a lot better than if I were to go into the legal field. Because let's say, I mean, it would have been about 8-9 years now since I would have been a lawyer. Like, I would have qualified to become a lawyer and then been admitted to one. About 8 years. I would have not been a partner by now. There's no way I'm smarter than all of those other people. That's just very arrogant to think. And I mean, I basically work 2 hours a day. I know it's weird to say, but some days I don't even do that. So why would I want to go and slave myself off to another partner and go kiss a client's ass when I don't have to?
You inspire me a lot because I've seen you grow this amazing business, and I've even been, like, can I say this? Like, a client of yours.
Sure,
Because
sure, sure.
because I really believe in what you do, and in my opinion, you're one of the best salespeople I've ever seen. Like, you sold something to me, that I didn't even know I needed. I was
Thank
like,
you.
I need that.
I've got no sales training, by the way, but I follow a simple philosophy of, look, if I feel like I can help someone, I let them know. It's that simple.
I've wasted hours drafting contracts in my business. I've used clunky templates, even written from scratch, looked into paying lawyers. I've even tried ChatGPT, but it just didn't hit the mark. I knew there had to be a better way. And then I found this, Aircounsel, an AI contract drafter built by lawyers for lawyers. I spoke to the team at Aircounsel, and they use it for their own legal work, and they're improving it every single day based on real life feedback. It actually does the heavy lifting for you. It researches your jurisdiction's laws and nuances, and picks up local drafting quirks, and even matches your tone and style. It then builds a ready-to-edit Word document with hyperlinks, numbering, and a table of contents. It's so quick. I was so impressed when I used it. What I love about it is you can ask it to draft any contract you like, and it will even give you suggestions for appropriate terms or clauses that you'd never even think of. If you're still spending hours drafting contracts the old way, you don't have to anymore. This changed everything for me. If you're a lawyer, business owner, service provider, it might just do the same for you. And Aircounsel have been kind enough to sponsor this episode, and I'm so excited to spread the word. It's the most sophisticated contract drafting software I've used. To get your free 7-day trial, just go to the description of this episode. Give it a go, and don't forget to let me know how it changes your workflow.
Another realization I had, and like, I love talking about these philosophical things, is if you look at the hierarchy of things, because I'm talking to the lawyers that might be listening here, and a lawyer, sure, we all want to become lawyers. I mentioned no one wants to become a lawyer because they were born and they said, hey, mommy, I want to be a lawyer because I love doing compliance and stuff like that. No one does that. We all do it because we want the prestige. So if you really look at status in life, and by life I mean in the economy, because obviously status in life is a whole different argument. I believe that's based on integrity and morals and stuff like that. But if you look at the pecking order of people in an economy, the people that are at the top in that pecking order are the people that can sell. You can look at that in
Mm,
a law firm. If you go to a law firm, the people that are partners are the ones that have clients. The ones that have clients are the ones that know how to bring a client. If you know how to bring a client in a legal firm, you're going to be the partner, not the guy that knows how to find precedent in the best way. Or there's apps for that. Like
yeah,
you don't need that. Or not the person that had the most. What's the word? They're the sharpest lawyer. The sharpest lawyer is never the client. I mean, never the partner. The sharpest lawyer, the partner is the person that knows how to bring, maintain, and provide that TLC for clients. And I feel like if you have that skill of client acquisition, you could apply that to anything in life, and you will win
mm,
because that's business.
totally. What would you say then? So you've had no sales training. How did you know how to sell? And what tips would you give to lawyers who, let's say, they want to get clients, they want to become partner? How can they start doing it in a way that you're doing?
So that's a great question. If you're a lawyer and you want to get more clients, you already know that the only way to do that is to build more relationships. Like you cannot. No one hires a lawyer because he was the cheapest, right? Like no one does that. No one says I'm gonna hire this agency because they're $25 an hour less than the other agency. No, especially in the legal field, you hire people or you hire lawyers because you can trust them, because you're fucked and you need someone who, I mean, even if you're not fucked, you are still in a position where you're one step away from being in jail. It doesn't matter whether you're doing something right or wrong. If you're a good lawyer, you are that one step that keeps them away. Now, how do you do that? Actually, that's an overstatement. You're not really, people that have big budgets are not one step away from being in jail, but they could be one step away from losing millions of dollars. And
Yes.
so essentially what you need to do is you need to be the person that they can trust. And so that's why I feel like lawyers always feel like they have to keep this image. They're super professional, they're always looking dapper because they need to present this image. But most importantly, what I would say to any lawyer is, look, meet the most amount of people that you can, whether that's via LinkedIn. And by the way, LinkedIn is the best way to do it. You could meet 10,000 people every day if you know how to talk about your things and get business that way. That's just put yourself out there. So the first step is being discovered, and the other step is then being trusted. If you can do that, you don't need to sell. People will come to you.
True. Yeah, it's a good point actually. I know obviously you have built a massive presence on LinkedIn. Let's rewind your life and let's say things happened differently. You became a lawyer, you finished law school, and you decided, I'm going to start posting on LinkedIn as a lawyer. How would you approach it?
Okay, this is great. If I were in the legal feed and I were posting on LinkedIn, I mean, I would be and I knew what I know now, that, you could literally reach anyone and it can work. I would have a very, 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 very simple plan that I would execute. And that would be, I would find who the lower barrier to entry clients are. I would get those people in the door. I will help them out and I will tell them to go tell the world about me. And I would just do this for 5 years, 10 years, and I would be the biggest fish in town. That's it. I mean, look, when you're a lawyer, you don't play games on weekly basis because you're going to be a lawyer for the rest of your life. What you want to do is let's say you're a lawyer that's 45. You want to be the biggest talk of town, or the most prestigious lawyer in whatever niche you're in, because obviously, I mean, anyone that's from the legal field understands that there is no such thing as a general lawyer. Like, there's no GP, like, how there's general practitioner doctors, there is no general practitioner lawyers. Lawyers specialize in different things. You could be one
Yeah.
that deals in compensation or injury, or you could be one that deals in really high-end corporate mergers, or you could be one that deals with environmental problems or car manufacturer stuff. Like, it depends on what kind of lawyer you are. So if you're a lawyer that deals with people on the masses, so let's say a compensation injury lawyer, you know then yeah, I mean, I would talk to as many people as possible, and I would have some kind of a referral plan in place. And I would do this on LinkedIn, and I would tell them, hey, look, man, look, I get it, I got you your injury compensation, maybe you could bring me a couple other people, and I'll give you a piece of that business. But if I were, let's say, in the corporate merger game, then obviously it would be very different. I'd make sure that I get in through one door. So I'd do basic, you know, basic sales work on LinkedIn to be able to do that, get in on some kind of a deal, even maybe work with another lawyer to do it. Once I'm in there, I'll make sure that I'm the one that's referred around. So, lawyers, the most important thing I feel like for lawyers, just as with doctors, is not client discovery. So it's not that, and people confuse this. They think, oh, if I can just get lawyers 10,000 views, that they might actually be able to, get a lot of clients. It's not that. For lawyers, doctors, for high trust professionals, what you need to do is you need to make sure that once someone engages them, the touch point, every touch point is perfect. And so
Mm.
if I engage the lawyer, so for example, I actually did engage a lawyer recently because in Australia we have draconian car laws, and so I bought a nice car and I was driving fast, and I was very stupid because I didn't know how anal Australia is about their road rules. I mean, in Germany it wouldn't even be considered fast, but they stopped me. I had to end up going to court. Now, this person literally saved me from years of pain. So now every single time and I don't even like, it costs a lot of money, but I don't really care. And so now every single time someone I know has a similar trouble, guess who I recommend? I recommend that person. So
Mm.
one of the things I feel like about lawyers and accountants as well is that the more you don't actually need a lot of marketing. You need a little bit of marketing, and then you need a lot of delivery. And unfortunately, both lawyers and accountants do the opposite. What they do is they're trying to get new people in the door, but the people that are right there, they'll look around with them, they won't deliver them the best service.
Mm.
It's that simple.
I see.
Like, it's just give them,
Okay.
because you're not in a profession where you can invent new shit. Like, I can invent new stuff. I am a marketer. I have a program today, and tomorrow I can have another program, and the day after that I can have another program, and people will buy again and again and again and again into my programs. It doesn't matter, because my game
Mhm.
is one of discovery, but the legal game is one of trust. You can't invent a new game. If you're a criminal lawyer, you're not gonna start selling a new product. Your product is you get people out of jail. So anyway, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
how I look at it. And by the way, I mean, I say this because I do have, I have a cousin who has built. I've seen him build one of the biggest accountancy firms by literally just being the person that can be trusted.
So, just kind of nitpicking that, how do you build that trust apart from what you're saying in terms of just deliver a really good, valuable service like you received with the car incident? For me, if I was to just add my perspective, I'd be telling lawyers, and I do, become a thought leader on LinkedIn. That's how you display your expertise. But I do think that you have to build trust first before you start talking in a thought leadership type way, because otherwise people will be like, well, why should I trust what you're saying? I don't really care who you are or what you're saying because everyone's saying the same things. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, so what you're talking about is the discovery part of the game. If you're not discovered, like, who's going to trust you? You have to be discovered first, but you don't have to focus completely on discovery as a lawyer, is what I would say. So for example, if I would not be saying the kind of stuff I say as a marketer if I were a lawyer. The reason for that is I can actually go completely left field and have very controversial opinions and poke and prod people and pick fights and do all of those things that might be slightly antisocial, but I wouldn't do that if I were a lawyer. I would do a lot of thought leadership for sure, but it would be very reserved in the way that I will not want to make it harder for the person to trust me, because trust is, like you said, it's very important. Now, once I do that, that will help more people take a shot at me, because again, all these fields are competitive as well. Like, accountancy is competitive, law is competitive, the big people, the big fishes eat everything in the pond, and the reason they do that is because they're the ones people trust the most. So I would go in and I would absolutely share a lot of thought leadership, yes, but I wouldn't be very polarizing or controversial, or I wouldn't pick fights because I'm a lawyer. I mean, I my job is to get people out of those. And then when I get any business, I would have absolutely have referral plans in place. I would deliver them the best service, and then I would just wait 5 to 10 years. Why wouldn't you? Because where am I going? I'm a lawyer. You know, it's not like I'm going to become an astronaut tomorrow. That's what I do.
How would you say that people can actually build that trust though? Apart from being controversial in these things, I personally did it by telling stories about myself, and that's what kind of made people think, okay, she's all right. They bought into me. And then I started going with the thought leadership within the legal industry, and they started to trust that because they trusted my story. But I don't know how that works from a psychological perspective. And I know that you know
Yeah.
more about psychology.
So I've actually spent a lot of time thinking about this, and because I have clients that do similar stuff. And one of the things that I've really realized recently, and I tell everyone about this, so this is super special. I haven't actually spoken about this like with the public. Is you'd want to do it more than trust. One of the things that we all forget is, even more than trust, before someone comes to you, whether you're a lawyer or an accountant, is that they know that they're not going to feel discomfort. Now, what's the biggest discomfort that people feel that they don't want to feel, which is why they avoid doing anything? Is judgment. So if I were, let's say, if I were a criminal lawyer, my job would not be to show people how good of a criminal lawyer I am, or my job would be to make people feel how I don't judge them for the things that they might have or have not done, or the things that they're entangled in. Just an example. Now, I feel like, I suspect that your story might actually be helping them relate to you in a better way, which then makes them feel like, oh, she's not going to judge me because she's like me. Because all
Mm.
stories that work are stories that relate to people, and when they relate to people, they create resonance in a way where they lower the bar of, oh, she's going to judge me. No, she's not going to judge me because she failed too. She's not going to judge me because she's gone through that stuff as well. Now, one of the things that I would do, so for example, we tried this with a client of ours who is in the home loans business. Okay, so this is not exactly lawyer, but it's close. Is
Yeah.
that we said, hey, look, we don't care if you've, like, we literally made some posts around, I don't care if you fucked up your finances, it's okay. I'm going to try my best to get you your home loan. And that post, like stuff like that, got him the most leads than him talking about any deals he could get them. Because people were like, oh, I
Wow.
don't know if I can reach out to this person or not, because I don't know if, they're going to be okay that I have or don't have the amount of money or not. It's the same with a lot of professions. And again, people come to lawyers when they don't understand something, or that they are in need of help. We all need help every now and then, So if I were to be talking to my prospective clients, I would tell them, hey, look, it's okay if you need help. That's what I'm here for. I don't judge you for it. I make sure you get that help. That's the thing they're going to relate to the most, because they're going to be like, yeah, yeah, okay, all right, sweet. So I think lawyers actually do the opposite. What they do is they position themselves as the most prestigious, and so people feel like, oh, if I really go to this lawyer, he or she is so high end that I'm going to look like a shit kicker talking to them. Like, I'm going to feel like shit. I actually don't want to do that. And so you might actually be losing business because you're trying to look too good. I'm not saying don't be too
Mm.
good. I'm just saying be more relatable. So that's
Yeah.
why one of the reasons why stories in the legal world work really well is because no other lawyer is trying to do that. Like, no one else is relating to people. And stories is one way to relate. You could also relate directly by telling people it's okay. I think that's a piece of psychology that would work in any profession.
I agree. I think with law, it's hard to strike that balance between not looking, like you say, too threatening in a way that you're trying to make yourself look so great, which is actually threatening your prospective clients because they're like, oh, they're going to judge me, etc. And I love this point on judging, but also not giving away too much that they're actually coming across as not as credible. it's trying to strike that balance and something in the middle where it's like, I can trust you, but you're not giving away too much information about, I don't know, your weaknesses or your failures that will actually make me look at you and think, actually, I can't work with this person because they look weak in my eyes and I need a strong lawyer, you know?
Absolutely. No, so you should, if you're a lawyer, I don't think you should spend all day talking about how you got divorced or how your dog died or any of that stuff. I don't think that's relevant. Sure, those are stories that might relate to people, but again, you want to talk about stories that relate to your prospective clients, not just the whole world. And so I would absolutely be very careful of sharing. I mean, it's okay to share stories, but the kind of stories I'd be sharing as a lawyer, I'd be very mindful. And I think lawyers, they're not stupid. They're okay to be mindful of something like that. That's why a lot of them are averse to oversharing because they don't want to seem weak. Now, you don't seem weak by not being judgmental. You seem weak by being judgmental. So what I'm talking about essentially is allowing people the space to say, hey, look, it's okay if you f***ed up. I'm the lawyer that's going to get you out of it. That doesn't only apply to like criminal lawyers. That could apply to the managing director of $100 million company that fucked up his merger. He did the same thing. He fucked it up. And or maybe he doesn't even know what he fucked up. He just needs someone to hold his hand, because at the end, that's all we need. That doesn't matter who it is. It might be the MD of some major company and they're like, hey, look, we don't know what we're doing here. That's why you need help.
Absolutely. No, I do agree with you. You are right there, actually, in terms of like the judgment, and it's not a weak thing. So going back to you, why did you start posting on LinkedIn?
Well, I saw an opportunity on LinkedIn, and I used to analyze a lot about what's working and what isn't working. I always had a mind for analysis, and I just liked finding patterns for some reason. And I did it for maybe 4 or 5 hours a day. And I did have a bit of an extroverted nature. And so my friends are like, why are you telling us, why what works and what doesn't work? Why don't you go tell this to people on LinkedIn? Like, go tell it to them. And so I told them, okay, I will. And then I started doing that, and it just blew up. Yeah, yeah,
Oh my gosh, is it that simple? That's hilarious.
yeah. Yeah, then that very friend paid me for help with LinkedIn.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
funny.
Life's very
Yeah.
ironic. Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
I remember Lara was like talking about you a lot, like, oh, my friend Taz knows the ins and outs of the LinkedIn algorithm. And like you were the person who knew about LinkedIn.
Lara must mean that because in the last 6 months she's paid me maybe 40 grand for LinkedIn consultancy. So I'm sure she means it because she proves it with her money. But to be someone
Yeah,
like Lara, you need to outsource the thinking part to people like me if you want to make millions on a platform, because you need
Mm,
insight from wherever you can get it. And so I commend her for doing something like that.
totally. She is, yeah, she's got a really good mindset. That's really
Yeah,
inspirational, I think,
absolutely.
for this
Yeah.
reason. Yeah. You know, a lot of people talk about like visibility on LinkedIn and having loads of connections, followers, etc. But then there's so many people on LinkedIn who have got a lot of visibility, but I'm thinking they're not turning this into sales. They're not actually monetizing their visibility. How would you say is the best way to do that?
That's a good question. And I spend a lot of time thinking about that. There's visibility for visibility's sake. Okay. I mean, you could walk around with your zipper open and then someone looks at you and you could say, hey, I made you look. You know, I don't think that that's going to sell legal services or any services for that matter. And so when whoever is looking to get on social media, this is some very good awareness that you can have, any social media for that matter, but especially LinkedIn, because we're looking to get on LinkedIn for professional reasons. You might see a lot of people who have their zippers down. Okay, it could be the fact that they just post viral stuff, a monkey doing a moonwalk, and that got 1,000 likes because there's human beings on social media networks, and so that could be visibility. Or they might be doing something cheap like They might know that the entire world struggles with insecurities and a lack of belief and motivation, so they might post stuff that will be motivating and just fake virtue signaling and stuff like that. And so I think that all of those people have their zippers down. Okay, or they might just be really good to look at, and that's also a thing. People get visibility because they're good to look at. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. You're good to look at, sure, but most of it does not convert to actual business. And so what I would recommend for anyone that's on social media is, when you look at someone getting visibility, make sure they don't have their zipper down. Okay, and what that means is that make sure that if you were in their spot, you would want to do the same. Now, whether that's, would you want to post 6 motivational quotes a day? Would you want to make 65 different cheat sheets about how to find your next job? Would you want to post really nice selfies every day? Would you want to, do all your makeup and go to Bali and post pictures like that? Like, people do that. Nothing wrong with it, except if your goal is to earn credibility, that's different from earning visibility. Those are two very different things. Now, again, if you're in the legal service, if you're in any services, you don't need 10,000 people to be looking at you. You don't actually need to pull your zipper down. You can keep your pants up and you can still say the things that you were saying. And just by the virtue of the fact that you were early to the game, and by early to the game, I mean that not all lawyers are posting, okay, or not all accountants are posting. Just by the fact that you are being visible, you are going to be an anomaly in your field. That's why people don't do it, because they're scared. They're like, oh, I don't want to be the lawyer that posts. I don't want to be the accountant that posts. I don't want to be that person. But just by doing it without even having your zipper down, you can stand out. And so I would absolutely say, pay attention to how people get attention, not only how much attention they get, because they're two very different things.
Definitely. And then let's say I look at a lot of people and I think, yeah, they've got their zipper down. I wouldn't want to be like them. How are they turning this into, monetization? They're probably not, because of the credibility levels, like you're saying. How then do you think people can use the visibility? Let's say they're visible, but in a good way. They haven't got the zipper down. It's a good way. They've got good attention. What are your top tips for turning that into sales?
Now, this would very widely depend on who you are, what you do, what kind of sales we're talking about. Obviously, it would depend on it. But as an overall guidance for anyone, the way it would work is people don't buy from you because you gave them a whole bunch of value. No, no, that's not how it works. Even though all the people with their zipper down tell you, hey, look, that's how it works. Just give people value, build, what's it called? Build goodwill, and you can cash out from it. That's not how business works. The way business works is that there's a specific set of people that have some specific problems, and you are the best person to solve them. So what I would say is, show evidence of how you are the person that can solve the problem that the other person has. It's that simple. Now, a problem could be anything. It could be legal problems, it could be financial problems, it could be planning problems, it could be marketing problems, it could be anything on planet Earth. But you need to tell people how you are the person that can solve it. And then you also need to tell them to get in touch with you to solve that problem. Because here's another thing, like, I can't believe it's 2025 and people ask me this. They're like, do I have to tell people that this is what I sell? I'm like, does Apple say that they sell an iPhone? Of course they do. Like, you have to tell people what you're selling. And if you go to Apple's website, it says buy now. Like, it doesn't say we might sell a phone. I don't know. Like, it doesn't say like that. They say what they do. And so what I would suggest you do is that you actually not only tell people how you can solve that problem, but also tell them that you are the person that will solve it now. That's how you make money in any field that you're in. Like, any field, you cannot name me any field on planet Earth where this doesn't happen and people make money. It's not possible. So it's the same for us now. Just because we're on social media doesn't mean that things have changed. Just because some social media gurus say, oh, you need a shit ton of visibility, or you need this or that or whatever, or you need to give them value. They only say it because they're trying to justify the fact that they give out value all day, all night, and they don't know why they do it. What are some of the things that you bought? Like, what are some things that you've bought, let's say, in the last 6 months?
Me, I mean, it's mainly business related services, I would say. Apart from like, well, yeah, that's probably the main thing.
Okay, well, I recently bought a whole bunch of baby stuff, okay, because I'm expecting a child. Um, Now, not one of those baby companies, not a single one of them gave me any value. Like, they didn't sit down and guide me about, oh, this is what you do about, this is how a pram works, and I'm going to give you 55 different tips or a checklist on how to make a pram work. No, they said, look, we're the best people that make the best pram. Buy it. That's what you got to do, whatever you're selling.
That's a really good point, actually. When you put it like that, that's really,
Yeah.
really an interesting way to position it, you know?
Let everyone else give free value, because they are the ones nurturing your audience, and then you go in and say, hey, look, you got all the value from them. Now I know your problem. I'm the one that can solve it. Let's get to work. Simple.
Oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
love it. I just love how simple that is.
Because it is. We just
Amazing.
overcomplicate it for no reason.
True. But then also, you've got other people, big people on LinkedIn, even Lara actually says, like, give value so that people look at you and think, whoa, if she's giving this much for free, how much is she giving for a paid thing, you know?
So I sort of disagree with Lara on that. If you notice, we're actually changing Lara's positioning more towards an entrepreneur, because she's doing well in that field, and that's where she's going. But I mean, I don't want to get into details about what we do with Lara or not. But I actually disagree with that. The reason for that is because humans like consistency. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Let's say we work together, and every morning I would just, actually that might not be the best option, but every morning I would just buy you a coffee on the way. Okay, like I'll just buy it for you.
Hmm.
And then the fifth day I buy a coffee, and I'm like, oh yeah, also, by the way, you gotta give me $10 for this coffee. You're gonna be like, why like, you buy it for free, like, why the fuck are you doing this? Whereas if I were to just come and say to you, hey, look, I go past the coffee shop, can I just, if you want coffee, just give me $10, I'll get it for you next time. I think your emotional response would be a lot different. Actually, that might not be the best example, but the point I'm trying to make is that people like consistency. If you train people to get stuff for you from free, they will get stuff for you from free. If you train people to buy stuff from you, they will buy stuff from you. Simple. And anytime you
Mm,
change it, they will feel a negative emotion. So if I train you to get stuff from me for free, and then I tell you, hey, look, but now I'm going to make you pay for it, it's going to be a negative response to that. And
yeah.
so I say that as someone who has probably given the most amount of things for free on LinkedIn, like the most. Like, I did a course that 12,000 people did for free. I could have literally
Wow.
made $500,000 from that course alone. And
Wow.
I did it because at that time I was stupid, because I should have made that $500,000. And so it is easy for me to agree with everyone else and say, hey, yeah, give value because it brings you business. And you know what? I said that for a while. But I think I'm grown enough
Mm,
now to speak the truth and say, no, if you want to sell a service, you have to sell it. Like, the fuck? What does Apple give you
yeah.
for free before they sell you an iPhone?
Yeah, you're
What does
right.
Mercedes give you for free before they sell you a car? You know,
A
nothing.
test drive.
That's if you. They only give you a test drive if they think you're gonna buy the car. By the way,
Yeah, I
but
know.
yeah,
They wouldn't
but
give
that's
me a test drive.
but that
Yeah.
that's literally what it is. They don't. The
Yeah,
best
absolutely.
brands actually train you to pay up. Think about it.
Mm,
Do you go to
yeah.
Rolls Royce and expect shit for free? No. You go to Rolls Royce and you think that the leather on the car seat is gonna cost $60,000, because it is.
Mm,
You go to Rolex, you can't even buy the shit. Like, you go to a Rolex shop and you say, hey, can I buy this? They'll be like, no, we don't have it. Like, why the fuck do you have it over there? They're like, sorry, you can't get it. Because they're training you that even with
yeah.
money, you can't buy our shit. So why would I want to
Yeah.
train people the opposite? I think it comes out of a lower self esteem, which every entrepreneur has
Mm,
at the beginning. I had it myself. I used to think, oh, I need to give people free shit. And now I'm like, I don't owe anyone anything. And that they owe me serious money for my work. And that's why I make
Yeah.
money, because I ask for it. If I weren't asking for it, when you have a business to run and you have salaries that you need to pay, and you're a grown adult, you're not an 18-year-old social media artist, or you have a family and you have stuff and you've got bills to make, you end up hating every motherfucker that took shit for you from you for free. You're like, I gave him so much value, why? And so I don't even want to
Yeah.
do that. I'm like, nah, man, I would rather make $500,000 than to not make it. And I say as someone who didn't make it. So I'm okay with being wrong. Like, I have done these things. What happens in the world of social media is we all start off as parrots, you know, parrots, because we parrot everything everyone else says. That's why everyone looks the same, because no one comes out looking different from day one. It is not possible. I mean, sure, maybe there's a prodigy somewhere that's going to come and do it, but it doesn't really. And those people are at the top of everything. Those are like the Mr. Beast of social media, but they're very rare. They're like, there's probably 100 of those in the world, and they run everything, even in business. But we all start off as copies of everything. Now, the problem that happens is most people remain copies. They cannot then say, hey, look, I believed it, but it was wrong. So I feel like my strength is, I actually, and every time I do this, I make a lot of money, is I actually figure out whether, or I think whether something is fundamentally correct or not, and then I take a stance on it. I didn't used to do it, but I do it now. So an example of that is, I used to believe that you should give away as much information for free as possible because you want to build goodwill. But then I thought about it. I'm like, no, if I give them shit for free, they will take shit for free. If I charge them money, they will pay me. Like, it's the standard you set, so what the that so,
Yeah.
so then, even though I have done the most free shit, I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. Now, I'll give you another example. Just recently, and this caused, I mean, I can't believe how many waves this stuff caused. I went and I said, hey, LinkedIn is dead, just 2 weeks ago or a week ago. I'm like,
Mm.
LinkedIn reach is dead. Okay, I literally made a post about it that, like, blew up. Like, it blew up. And everyone was so triggered because everyone is trying to sell the idea that you can just grow and grow and grow on LinkedIn. And they're all selling this idea because everyone else is selling that idea. So I came in, I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, no, but you know what? I've actually been here for like half a decade. Reach is down. That doesn't mean that LinkedIn is a shitty platform, because reach is down, but relevance is up. That was my case. But to the obvious people, I said, hey, look, reach is down. And they all got so triggered. They're all like, oh, reach is down. So what? So what? So what? Like, so what? So what? Like, people worry about likes only. I'm like, bro, relax. Like, but I knew that that was going to be the response. And I really enjoyed watching everyone else get triggered by it, because I knew that they can't think the other way. Like, as a growth guru themselves, they can't think that reach is down. And so it literally
Mm.
split LinkedIn into two camps. And so, again, this is the basic of any thought leadership, is that you need to, I mean, you need to have a thought, and that thought needs to be one that leads.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
for
yeah.
example, if I were to say, be kind to people, that's not like Jesus came up with that, mate, not you. Like, you're not leading that thought. that's that's probably 2025 years in the making, bro. Like, relax. Okay, um
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
people that say that, and then now, those are thoughts that are echoed forever because they are fundamental beliefs. But that's not thought
Mm-hmm.
leadership. It's thought repetition,
Mm.
or maybe thought following. you know but it
Yeah,
works,
yeah,
so
yeah.
people think, oh, it got 1,000 likes, so I might be a thought leader. Whereas in the eyes of people, you are not actually a thought leader. You're just someone that repeated a thought that resonates with millions of people. Now compare
Yeah.
that with a thought that has genuinely occurred to you, that you are leading, meaning you came up with it. That will
Mm.
create waves. That could be in the legal field, that could be in accounting, that could be in marketing, it could be in anything. The unfortunate part is that most people have that thought, and then they just suppress it because they're afraid to say it. But I hope more people
Mm.
hire people like yourself, so that when they have that thought, they can tell it, hey, Holly, I have this thought in my law practice.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, what if, like, we were to actually, you know put AI lawyers out there? Like, what if? Someone has a thought like that. I mean, I think you had a thought similar to that about how AI lawyers are going to be coming soon, and that thought flew, from what I remember.
Yeah.
Like it did well.
Yeah. It did. You're right. Yeah,
That's
you're
thought
right.
leadership, because it's thought
I
leadership.
know. That's what made me completely switch my perspective on that, you know? If you're a legal tech founder still trying to grow your brand, the reality is this: someone with half your expertise is about to outposition you. And when they do, you don't just lose reach, you lose deals, investors, opportunities, and more. I'm opening exclusive free access to a blueprint I've never shared publicly. If you want to become law firm's go-to legal tech solution, you'll need to become the leading authority. I explain exactly how in my blueprint. Go to the description of this episode to get it sent straight to your inbox now.